our foremost responsibility as a state board and the department is to take every measure that we can to ensure the safety of all of our students, educators, and members of school communities.
Today, lawmakers discussed the emergency regulations adopted by the State Board of Education requiring more communication about students' criminal records.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost has been investigating this issue of reportable offenses for months. Joins us live from the newsroom with an update from lawmakers. Mackenzie.
Mary and Kai, lawmakers today heard from the State School Board of Education as well as the superintendent about why they believe this emergency rule change should be adopted by this legislative committee, making it permanent. They talked about the importance of closing this communication gap. However, lawmakers also heard about another gap that will not be closed by this change, and that's something we first told you about last month.
Today we have before us an emergency regulation.
The Administrative, Executive, and Legislative Rules Committee meeting virtually Wednesday to discuss the new emergency rules now requiring school superintendents to share reportable offense information about students. Reportable offenses are crimes committed by students off campus, such as homicide, attempted homicide, carjacking, arson, and several others. The arresting law enforcement agency must report the incident to the superintendent within 24 hours. The emergency rules adopted by the school board must get legislative approval to become permanent.
Given the possible seriousness of the reportable offense in question, the amendment to the regulation being presented is coming to this body as an emergency regulation.
The school board and Dr. Carrie Wright, the state superintendent, says there are other gaps in communication the emergency rules do not address, like the fact that the education system within the Department of Juvenile Services, JSIP, does not pass along criminal record information to public schools when students re-enroll.
When our students are interacting with the Department of Juvenile Services, that is not necessarily we're having a communication gap there, but that when a young person, a justice-involved youth is engaged at DJS, that is where the chain of information is breaking.
During an exclusive interview for Fox 45 News In Depth, Kimberly Pogue, the superintendent of JSEP, says the law prohibits them from sharing information. And so at this point, it would be up to the state lawmakers come January to change that.
Yes, I believe that is currently what would need to happen to allow JSEP to be able to transfer that type of information.
And when it comes to transferring the students' records, is there the history of the student's criminal record part of that information that gets transferred to the public school when they re-enroll?
No, we only transfer their educational progress while they're with JSEP, again, to ensure that there's no loss of their educational progress in the transfer. We do not currently transfer any criminal history and any of that background when they transfer back to their home school.
Some lawmakers raising questions about law enforcement following through with the reportable offense policy of alerting schools.
What kind of communications have you all had with law enforcement about how it could be more helpful in getting the information that you need in a more timely manner? Something the school board says can be a struggle.
Communications, we have limited knowledge of when law enforcement actually doesn't follow through with their statutory responsibility within the given laws that exist. So, and that happens with some regularity.
Understood.
Fox 45's previous investigations into reportable offenses found data that raises questions. The 2022-23 school year report on reportable offenses, which is the most recent available, shows 1,231 total offenses in this category. Baltimore City shows 55 reportable offenses during the school year, while Baltimore County reported 556. MSDE telling us Baltimore City amended that number to 95 in March.
I would like to look a little deeper into that. And again, it's all about who's required.
I previously sat down with Sergeant Clyde Boatwright, the president of the Maryland Fraternal Order of Police. He also spent nearly 20 years with the Baltimore City School Police and is the president of the School Police Union. We went through the different reported offenses from areas around the state. Dorchester, 36 different incidents.
Charles County 71. The numbers seem to be all over the map.
Yes. Yeah, so that tells me that there is a different understanding of what should be reported versus what's actually being reported. If we're now seeing most of our 24 counties are under 100, and we have one county that's almost 500, that's telling that it could be something in how that agency understands what should be reported.
Boatwright says the Department of Juvenile Services could be a factor, especially since DJS has the authority to decide not to move forward with charges of a young person, even if police make an arrest. During the legislative committee hearing, the reality of the gaps in the system setting in for lawmakers.
I really think that the time is now to be really looking at it. We as the state of Maryland nationwide, we're looking at safety, and we really need to get this right.
I think we're still going to be with a disjointed system, even if this passes, which it should.
Teeing up potential work for them in January when the General Assembly session begins.
Now, the committee today did not take a vote on these emergency rules that came before them. It's unclear when that will take place. However, what was clear was the interest from several lawmakers to explore other legislative ways to require the Department of Juvenile Services to share more information about the young people under their supervision. Live in the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.